She heard strange sounds she had never heard before. The bed creaked, and there were whispers and low moans. Lisa's heart started beating fast. She tiptoed toward her mother's room. She pressed her ear against the door, listening. The sounds made her feel uncomfortable, but she didn't understand why. Lisa stood there for a moment, then quickly went back to her room. Margaret was a beautiful woman in her late 30s. She lives with her only daughter, Lisa. Her husband, Chief Dennis, had passed away when Lisa was just 8 years old. He was a very rich man, and after his death, Margaret took over his businesses. She managed everything well and made sure they all ran smoothly. She had many workers who respected her because she was smart and strong. But Margaret had a secret. She loved to enjoy life. She went to parties, traveled to different places, and met different men. She did not want to marry again, but she liked to have fun. People in town whispered about her lifestyle, but no one dared to talk to her directly. Lisa, now 15 years old, was a quiet and smart girl. She loved school and spent most of her time reading. She missed her father, but she never spoke about it because her mother never did. Lisa often stayed home alone while her mother went out. One evening, Lisa sat in her room doing homework. The house was quiet. Her mother had gone out again. Suddenly, she heard voices outside. Curious, she looked through the window. A black car had stopped at their gate. A man stepped out and knocked. Lisa felt something was not right. She slowly walked to the door and opened it just a little. The man looked around before speaking. "Is your mother home?" he asked. Lisa shook her head. The man smiled. "Tell her I came by. She knows who I am." Then he turned and left. Lisa watched the car drive away. Her heart was beating fast. Who was that man? And why did he look so serious? That night, when Margaret came home, Lisa wanted to ask her about the visitor. But when she saw her mother's happy face, dressed in an expensive gown and smelling of perfume, she changed her mind. Lisa knew her mother had many secrets. But this time, she felt something was different. As the months passed, Lisa noticed something strange. Her mother started bringing different men into the house. At first, they only visited during the day, but soon, some of them began sleeping over. Lisa didn't understand what was happening. She would hear them laughing, talking in low voices, and sometimes arguing. Margaret never introduced these men to Lisa. Whenever Lisa asked who they were, her mother would brush it off. "Just a friend, my dear," Margaret would say, smiling. "Nothing for you to worry about." But Lisa did worry. One night, Lisa was in her room reading when she heard a man's deep voice coming from her mother's room. She couldn't make out the words, but she could tell they were laughing and talking softly. As the night grew darker, the voices changed. She heard strange sounds she had never heard before. The bed creaked, and there were whispers and low moans. Lisa's heart started beating fast. Curious and confused, she tiptoed toward her mother's room. She pressed her ear against the door, listening. The sounds made her feel uncomfortable, but she didn't understand why. Lisa stood there for a moment, then quickly went back to her room. She couldn't sleep. Her mind was full of questions. Why did her mother bring so many men home? What was happening in that room? Lisa decided she needed to find out the truth. Lisa couldn't keep the questions inside anymore. She had spent too many nights hearing strange noises and seeing different men in the house. She needed answers. One evening, after dinner, Lisa sat across from her mother at the dining table. Margaret was dressed in a beautiful red gown, her hair styled perfectly, and her perfume filled the air. Lisa knew she was going out again. Taking a deep breath, Lisa finally spoke. "Mom, can I ask you something?" Margaret looked up and smiled. "Of course, dear. What is it?" Lisa hesitated, then gathered her courage. "Why do you keep bringing different men home?" Margaret's smile faded slightly, but she remained calm. "Lisa, that's not something you should worry about. But I do worry, Lisa said, her voice firm. Every night, I hear things. I hear voices, I hear noises. I don't understand what's going on, but I know it's not normal. Margaret sighed. Lisa, you're still young. There are things you won't understand yet. Lisa clenched her fists. Then explain them to me, she demanded. Ever since Dad died, you changed. You never talk about him. You go out all the time, and now strange men are in our house. Who are they? What are they to you? Margaret's expression hardened. Lisa, you are my daughter, not my mother. You don't get to question my life. Tears welled up in Lisa's eyes. I just want to know the truth. Margaret sighed again, this time softer. Lisa, I have needs. Your father is gone, and I don't want to be lonely. These men, they make me feel happy. Lisa shook her head. But Mom, it's not right. It doesn't feel right. Margaret reached out and held Lisa's hands. You don't have to understand now, but one day you will. Just trust me, okay? Lisa pulled her hands away. I don't know if I can. Without another word, she stood up and went to her room, shutting the door behind her. She didn't feel like a daughter anymore. She felt like a stranger in her own home. Days turned into weeks, and Margaret continued her lifestyle without concern for how Lisa felt. More men came to the house, staying late into the night. Lisa no longer asked questions. She already knew her mother wouldn't listen. At school, Lisa found herself becoming distant from her classmates. But one person she could talk to was Eva. Lisa, you always look so serious these days, Eva said one afternoon. Are you still thinking about your mom? Lisa sighed. I just don't understand her, Eva. It's like she doesn't even care how I feel. Eva smirked. Maybe you're overthinking it. Your mom is just enjoying her life. Maybe you should too. Lisa frowned. What do you mean? Eva leaned closer. Lisa, you're always quiet, always thinking too much. Why don't you try something new? Have some fun, like your mom. Lisa hesitated. But, what kind of fun? Eva giggled. Come with me after school. I'll show you. For the first time in a long time, Lisa felt curious. She wanted to understand why her mother acted the way she did. Maybe Eva was right. Maybe she was thinking too much. That evening, Lisa followed Eva to a small house in town. Inside, there were a few older boys, music playing, and the smell of something strong in the air. Lisa felt nervous, but Eva pulled her in. Relax, Lisa. Just enjoy yourself, Eva whispered. Lisa looked around. This was a world she had never known. A world her mother seemed to live in every night. Lisa sat nervously in the corner of the small house, watching Eva laugh and talk with the older boys. The music was loud, and the air smelled different, something strong and unfamiliar. She felt out of place, but at the same time, she didn't want to leave. A boy named Jason sat down beside her. He attends the same school with Lisa but not the same class. He has a confident smile, and his eyes studied her curiously. You're Lisa, right? He asked. Lisa nodded slowly. Yeah. Jason leaned back, stretching his arms. I've seen you around. You don't talk much. Lisa shrugged. I guess. Jason smirked. That's cool. Quiet girls are interesting. Lisa wasn't sure what to say, so she just looked down. But Jason kept talking, making her feel more comfortable. He asked about her school, her favorite music, and what she liked to do for fun. By the end of the evening, Lisa found herself smiling, a real smile, something she hadn't done in a long time. From that day, Jason started paying more attention to her. He would wait for her after school, send her messages at night, and always made her feel special. Eventually, he asked her to be his girlfriend. Lisa hesitated at first, but then she thought about her mother. Margaret had her own life, full of secrets and late nights. Maybe Lisa could have a secret too. So she said yes. She didn't tell her mother. She didn't tell anyone except Eva. And just like that, Lisa had entered a world she wasn't sure she was ready for. Lisa and Jason grew closer with each passing day. He made her feel special, like she finally had someone who understood her. They spent more time together, after school, on weekends, and even late into the night when Lisa would sneak out to meet him. She never told her mother about Jason. Margaret was too busy with her own life to notice what was happening with Lisa. And Lisa preferred it that way. But then, things started to change. One morning, Lisa woke up feeling strange. Her stomach churned, and a wave of nausea hit her as soon as she sat up. She ran to the bathroom, dropping to her knees as she vomited into the toilet. Margaret, who had just woken up, heard the noise and rushed to the bathroom. She found Lisa hunched over, breathing heavily. "Lisa," Margaret said, her voice filled with concern. "Are you okay?" Lisa wiped her mouth and nodded weakly. "I'm fine, Mom. Maybe I ate something bad." Margaret narrowed her eyes. She had seen this before. "Lisa," she said slowly, crossing her arms. "When was the last time you had your period?" Lisa's heart stopped. Her hands felt cold. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Margaret's expression changed. "Lisa, are you pregnant?" Lisa's vision blurred with tears. She had been ignoring the thought, pushing it away, hoping it wasn't true. But now, faced with her mother's question, she couldn't deny it anymore. She was pregnant. Margaret took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. Who's responsible for this? Lisa looked down, her hands shaking. "Jason." Margaret closed her eyes for a moment, her jaw tightening. Then she looked at Lisa again, her voice firm. "We need to talk." Lisa felt her whole world closing in. She had no idea what would happen next. As the weeks passed, Lisa's body began to change. Her stomach, once flat, started to round, and soon, the whispers at school began. Students stared at her in the hallways, teachers exchanged concerned glances, and even Eva seemed unsure of what to say. Lisa tried to ignore it, but the truth couldn't be hidden forever. One afternoon, the school principal called her into his office. Sitting across from him, Lisa felt her heart pound. Jason was already there, looking down at his hands. The principal sighed. "Lisa, Jason, the school has a strict policy. We cannot allow pregnant students to continue in classes. And Jason, as the father, you have also violated school rules." Lisa's breath caught in her throat. "But, what does that mean?" The principal's face remained serious. "It means you are both expelled." Lisa felt like the floor had been ripped from beneath her. She turned to Jason, but he wouldn't even look at her. By the time she got home, Margaret was already waiting. The school had called her. Lisa barely stepped through the door before Margaret exploded. "Lisa, you got yourself expelled. Do you know what you've done?" Tears filled Lisa's eyes. "Mom, But before she could finish, Margaret's anger faltered. She looked at her daughter, really looked at her. The fear in Lisa's eyes, the pain, the confusion, and suddenly, it hit her. This was her fault. She had been too busy living her own reckless life, too distracted by men and late nights to see what was happening to Lisa. Margaret sank into a chair, holding her head in her hands. "Oh, my God, what have I done?" For the first time in years, she felt truly afraid, not for herself, but for her daughter. Lisa stood there, silent, waiting for what would come next. Margaret sat in silence, her hands trembling. She had spent so many years chasing her own happiness, ignoring the one person who needed her the most, her daughter. Lisa wiped her tears and looked at her mother. "Mom, what do I do now?" Margaret lifted her eyes to Lisa's growing belly, reality sinking in deeper. She had failed as a mother, but this was her chance to make things right. She took a deep breath. "We will figure this out, Lisa. But first, where is Jason? Does he know what's happening?" Lisa hesitated. "He stopped talking to me after we got expelled." Her voice broke. "I don't think he wants anything to do with me anymore." Margaret's heart clenched. She knew how cruel the world could be, especially to young girls like Lisa. "Listen to me," Margaret said firmly. You are not alone in this. I'm going to take care of you and this baby. But you have to promise me something. Margaret reached for her hands. Promise me you won't make the same mistakes I did. Promise me you'll be better than me. Lisa nodded slowly, but deep inside, she wondered, was it too late for her to change? As the days passed, Margaret made a difficult decision. She let go of her reckless lifestyle and focused on Lisa. She visited doctors with her, made sure she ate well, and even started attending church again, seeking guidance. But the road ahead was not easy. People whispered about them in the neighborhood. Old friends distanced themselves. And Jason. He disappeared completely.